John Wick 4's rejected original ending by Keanu Reeves. Because some series aren't really supposed to finish, it might be challenging to know how to wrap them up. The conclusion that director Chad Stahelski and star Keanu Reeves came up with in film did not make it into the finished version of John Wick 4. Shooting ambiguous endings is acceptable as long as it gives the audience something to discuss. But the problem with ambiguity in movies is that it can make viewers even more perplexed. If a story is supposed to have a happy ending, often all we want to see is that. There is no justification for attempting to be ambiguous or artistic with a detail that ought to be obvious. The character of John Wick has always felt superhuman, which is one of the most important parts of the John Wick series, given that he has sustained injuries that most people would never be able to recover from. Because of this, even if the franchise was coming to an end, it would seem a little careless to kill off the character. The adored assassins typically fake their own deaths so that they can finally live in peace, even if it is a common trope to use. Similar to this concept, Keanu Reeves and Chad Stahelski intended for John Wick 4's ending, but in screen testing, viewers preferred ambiguity. The conclusion that he and Keanu Reeves came up with did not make it into the final edit, he revealed to Empire during an interview with Chad Stahelski. Reeves would have been portrayed as John Wick, which would have meant that the character was still alive, according to Stahelski. As stated by Stahelski, our conclusion was different. Although we shot an alternative finale, Keanu and I liked. John Wick appeared in the movie's final scene, which is how it was intended to conclude. He was still alive, and that much was obvious. The uncertain ending was much preferred by the audiences we tested it on. Although we can appreciate that the audience wanted to wonder whether John Wick was still alive, it would have made far more sense to show him still alive given that Lionsgate is pushing for a fifth movie. Considering all of the superhuman damage he has sustained in earlier entries, which we mentioned at the beginning of this essay, the majority of fans can infer that he did not actually pass away. Even though Winston and the Bowery King are standing by John's alleged tomb, there is another instance in which the dog seems to be gazing off into the distance. His sole goal was to be released from his obligation to the High Table, which he ultimately did. Death would be the most certain way for that to occur, but his presumption of death would also be effective. Then, as is the case with most assassins, he may vanish. Although there were some indications that Keanu Reeves would return, he had preferred a much more solid response. Through these 4 films, he and Stahelski have worked on the franchise together, and while they haven't toned it down, they are reportedly trying to come up with a decent idea for the 5th movie. This first John Wick 4 conclusion may appear in the director's cut of the movie, which Stahelski has also stated is on the way. On the other hand, perhaps this is the right time for people to think about the franchise. Although we would all want to see Keanu Reeves return for a 5th installment, perhaps it is time to take a break and give the series some breathing room.